I've been discussing the design elements for Madoka Magica and Magia Record characters for a long while now, but there's still so many characters that I still haven't talked about. Magia Record gave us a whole ton of characters to look into, and in this vid, I'm going to cover even more of them. If you've seen my previous videos of the series, you know I've already covered Iroha, Yachio, and a few others already. If you haven't seen that vid yet, I suggest you do. It covers some important information about the world of Magia Record, and doppels, and other important stuff. There's a link to my whole Madoka Magica playlist in the iCard and in the description. This time around, I wanted to cover Iroha's other friends, so let's start things off with Momoko.
Making a move on a member of my team like that? You've got guts, don't ya?
Momoko is basically the mom of their little group of magical girls. She's the one breaking up fights, telling them what to do, teaching the newbies about magical girl stuff, etc, etc. Now, last time, I talked about how Iroha had a rogue theme for her design, and I speculated on several reasons behind that design choice for her. But here, looking at the rest of the gang that she teams up with, I think there was also an attempt to make everyone in the original group of girls feel like a reference to classic RPG classes. Momoko here obviously is acting as the heavy, the fighter, the barbarian. We can see it clearly with her transformation. Power and strength is a big part of her combat style. Interestingly, she has a lot of flame things going on with her transformation, and while in-game she is the fire element, there's actually nothing flame related to her actual abilities or inspiration. Remember, this character was designed for the app game first, which is why her magical ability is kind of lame. Her magical ability is just encouragement, which really only makes sense when you're playing an RPG. She gives another player a boost in stats with her encouragement. In any other scenario though, it just doesn't feel like a magical ability, you know? So why is her ability encouragement? Well, she initially had a crush on a boy, and wished she had the courage to confess her feelings. By the time she had found him again though, some other girl had already confessed to him. Never wish for a boy! This is the biggest lesson across all of Madoka Magica. So many girls, they make their wish because of a crush on some dumb boy. Don't do it, it always ends badly. But it also explains why she has her berserker-themed outfit. She wished to have the power to do something, and nothing screams powerful like an armored tank girl wielding a gigantic sword. Her soul gem is also shaped like a shield, which is interesting because she doesn't use a shield. Instead, I think the idea is that she is the shield. She's protecting the others. She also is one of the few characters whose soul gem isn't her signature color. Obviously, Momoko is yellow. The hair, the outfit, it's all over her, but her soul gem is a dark reddish-brown color instead. It definitely pops more on her outfit, and still matches her eye colors too. Now then, like most every girl, Momoko has a doppel, Elfried, the doppel of self-discipline, taking on the appearance of manicured nails. Yeah, don't let the too many swords distract you from the too many fingers in this design. In Momoko's side story in the game, she explains how she struggled to ask out the boy she was crushing on because she didn't feel like she's very feminine. The painted nails of her doppel form are reminiscent of that idea. Painting nails isn't really a girl-only thing anymore, at least not in the West, but it's definitely something that I think is different over in Japan still, especially big, gaudy acrylics like we see Elfried has. Now, the name Elfried was interesting to me. The wiki says it's likely a reference to the Germanic name
Alfred.
Which means elf strength. Get it? She does the strength thing, and then elves are usually said to be very beautiful, but that sounds like a bit of a stretch to me. Now, this isn't confirmed, but I think she might have been named after the famous Austrian playwright Alfred Jelinek, specifically because her works frequently covered topics about female sexuality and the battle of the sexes. These topics really hit the nail on the head with what Momoko's relationship woes were like. Like I said, this hasn't been confirmed anywhere, but it's a pretty neat coincidence at least.
That isn't what I said at all. Don't put words in my mouth. Oh, why are you talking to me like I'm garbage?
Continuing our theme of RPG classes, Rena definitely reads more as a princess than anything fit for battle. Her trident feels more like it's made for commanding others rather than actually being useful in battle, and this haughty princess idea is a perfect match for her personality too. So for Rena, let's actually work backwards from how we tackled Momoko. This is her doppel, the doppel of transformation, and obviously, this is a glass slipper. The name might have been a giveaway, but she's based on Cinderella. Again, a perfect fit for the princess vibes. Rena's magical ability is to copy someone else's appearance, which is why there's a big mirror on Cinderella's head. It's so Rena can see herself as the other person. So why can she do this? Well, Rena made the wish to be someone else, have the power to turn to other people. See, it was because she had a bit of a prickly demeanor. People often didn't like her. Because of her family's job, she had been moving around a lot and would get picked on in all of her new schools. The one thing she really found comfort in was watching idols. She wanted to be like them, live the lives they have where they're always loved by everyone and everyone looks up to them. She's not just a princess, she's an idol. That's why her soul gem is shaped like a musical note. And you know who also transformed into something they weren't in their story? Cinderella, with the help of her fairy godmother. I love tightly themed characters like this. Every single thing in her design just makes sense. Well, I guess the trident is a little out of place. But hey, with that star pattern and the wing motif, do you think this might also be a reference to the Galactic Railroad? Food for thought.
I'm warning you, stop it! Please, no more! Someone save me!
You can't talk about Rena without also talking about her best friend, Kaede. Kaede is shy and kind, a perfect opposite of Rena. Kaede clearly seems to be referencing a typical spellcaster class. The witch's hat, the wizard's staff, she's a mage through and through. Her magical ability allows her to control plants. Strap in, it's time for the environmentalist magical girl. So Kaede was pissed that the city was building a new high-rise outside of her home. It was obscuring the sun, the shade was ruining the family's garden. It was a big, ugly eyesore. So, when Kyubei approached her, she wished the construction had never started. She made it to go away, and this is why she also has the magical ability to make things temporarily disappear. She touches them, and they just go away. And the wizard theme makes sense, because often in fantasy, wizards/witches are most closely associated with nature in order to cast their spells. And this all comes to a head when we see her doppel form, Zola. Zola covers the area in a dangerous moss that decays the structures underneath it, taking that idea of returning to nature a lot more seriously. Funny enough, it's referred to as the doppel of conquest. Isn't really much of a conquest for Mother Nature to just be taking back what was hers. Zola is obviously decorated with something that looks similar to a red shrine gate, or a torii gate. These are meant to be the barrier between the real world and the spiritual world. And in Japan, the spirits are also often associated with nature. Now, why the name Zola? Well, there was a French journalist who often focused on preserving nature, but it could also be a reference to the plant Azola, which is called fairy moss.
¿Por qué no los dos?
Kaide's name even translates to maple leaf. It's all perfectly tied together with her themes of nature preservation. The only thing about Kaide's design I don't get is her soul gem. It's just a circle on her hood. The circle could symbolize so many different things, especially in regards to her nature idea. It could be symbolizing earth. It could be symbolizing a berry or fruit of some sort. I could speculate on this a ton, but I'd rather hear your thoughts and theories about it in the comments. Why do you think her soul gem is just a circle? And here's a crazy thing, diving in unscripted to do this part, while I was literally in the middle of editing this video and I was putting together everything, I went back to the wiki to get extra pictures of these girls, and these three girls all got official witch forms too. They're all very similar to their doppel forms already, so I don't think there's much I could say to expand on what we already see with them, but it's really cool. I don't know how they got their witch forms, the wiki hasn't updated on that part yet, and everything I could find was still in Japanese and not translated to English yet, but that's cool. That is interesting. We very rarely get to see full doppels and full witch forms for characters, so I think it's really fun. Okay.
Kill witches. They've gotta die!
Felicia's unique. She plays a major role in the anime, and shows up regularly in several people's side stories in the game. I know I called Momoko the berserker earlier, but Felicia is much better fit for that role, but with the giant hammer of hers and her fiery personality. The most noticeable thing in her design, at least for me, are the horns on her head. Initially, I wondered if there's supposed to be a Viking theme for her character, but once you get to know her, that's obviously not the case. It's really obscure, but in one of her side stories, she mentions how her prized possession is a toy cow she got with her parents, and that ties to the big defining factor in her life: her parents' death. See, Felicia's parents died in a fire that she accidentally started. When Kyubey offered her a wish, she wished what just happened didn't happen. But just like the story of the monkey's paw, you have to be careful about how you word your wishes. Kyubey didn't undo her parents' death, he just made her forget how it happened, then convinced her it was because of a witch, and that's why Felicia is so dead set on killing every witch she sees. It's also why her magical ability is the power to make people's memories change, or to even completely wipe their memories. Felicia's doppel form is Beatrice, the doppel of tumult, which is a fancy word to say confused. It's an eyelid that makes Felicia fall asleep, and can alter Felicia's perception of whatever it is that's happening, just like how Kyubey did with her wish. You might be confused why it came out of her belly button if it's meant to be an eyelid. Well, there's an old Japanese story that says if you sleep with your belly exposed, Raiju, the god of lightning, will sleep there, and then you'll be potentially harmed by his presence. I think it's a cautionary tale kind of thing. Like, I think this is an idea that you could catch a cold if your belly is exposed at night. Let me know if I got that wrong. I think that's what it is, but I'd love it if you have any other insight on this. And lastly, there's one girl left to tackle.
I wish for you to make me invisible. What do you mean? To disappear. Completely.
Sana Futaba. Her story is heavily featured in the anime as well, so if you don't want spoilers, I suggest dipping out of the video here. Sana is a sad character. Her parents were neglectful and abusive. They felt like she didn't live up to their impossible standards and wouldn't even let themselves be seen with her, cutting her off physically and saying she could only communicate with them via email. It all culminated into her wish: I wish I was invisible. Sana not only turns invisible, she seemingly disappears completely, almost like entering a different reality from our own. Her weapon is a giant shield, because this attempt to turn invisible was just a defense to get away from her family. She wants to hide and be protected. I've talked a lot about equating the girls' outfits to typical RPG classes, and I've saved Sana for last because she has the most unique design for me. She's armored, like a knight, but she also has frills and a crown, like a princess. She's both the damsel in distress, and also the knight here to save her, desperately looking for help, but also desperately trying to find her own way out. This duality is also referenced in her doppel form, Teresa, presumably named after an 18th century ruler who regulated standardized torture methods. You know, we don't do those barbaric torture methods. We have standards when it comes to our torture, and torture is pretty accurate. Her doppel is designed after an interrogation chair, and actually, the two different halves do different things. See, there's actually an invisible entity sitting in this chair. If you can't see it, then that means it's under some sort of control of its actions. However, that's what happens when it comes out of her left ear. If it comes out of her right ear, the entity will actually be visible. It's this thing, this dark slug thing, and if you can see it, it'll go on a violent rampage. I think it's pretty obvious the idea is Sana is torturing herself, but it's not all doom and gloom for her. Like I said, she's a prominent character in the anime, and there we can see her get some much needed closure and kindness thanks to her friendship with Iroha. In fact, most of these girls play passing roles in Iroha's story. They're more important than most other magical girls seen in the anime, so it's been a real blast getting to focus on them all a little bit more here. But if you've seen the anime, you might have noticed that I haven't touched on some of the most important characters yet. There's still tons more characters that I could talk about for this series. So let me know who you'd be interested in seeing me talk about next time. I'd really love to see it. And if I've missed anything interesting about these girls' designs, I'd love to see your thoughts about that in the comments below. Shout out to my $10 patrons, you're all amazing. Andrew, Valhalla Knight, Chamomile, Classy Critic, Noah Perkins, Sunny Shy, Genital War Thunder, Jake, Amber, Hype Man, Isaiah, Scaring Crows, Not All That Evil, Messiah Complex, Jacob, Ben's Sketchbook, The Watcher, Omega Fighter, Trash, Wild Pilot, Josh, Gino, Twisty, Juan, Bunkin Duncan, Alpha 99, and Hoodie Angel. So yeah, I hope you had fun with this video. I love doing these. They're always so interesting. You always learn something neat and new. Any and all thoughts and opinions about these girls, I would love to see them in the comments below. If I missed something, let me know. Let's learn with each other. And yeah, let me know which characters you want to see me cover next time. It might not just be during Magical Girl May, it might be during, like, some other month. I hope you've had fun with Magical Girl May this year. It was a blast for me. There's a playlist to all of the Magical Girl May videos, both from this year and all of the years prior, and I hope you had as much fun as I have. I'll see you next year with more Magical Girl content. Bye bye.